Hey guys, welcome back to Back Sports, and I'm back with another video. And I'm going to be doing my predictions for the 2024-2025 NFL playoffs. And this is going to be a very interesting one because there's a lot of great teams that have made it, obviously, and a lot of teams that missed out. But we're going to be obviously making our predictions on who will win the Super Bowl. So before we get into that, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out a lot. It really helps me create content like this for you guys and give my output for what football takes as well, and really supports me as a content creator. So please feel free to subscribe. I'm going to be doing my predictions for every week, but this is for the totality of the playoffs as well. And off-season content is going to be coming out soon. So feel free to subscribe if you're interested in that. Without further ado, let's get on with the picks because this is going to be a very interesting playoffs. A lot of rematches from early parts of this season, and one in particular. Let's start with the Green Bay Packers. Let's start from the bottom right now. So for the NFC, the Green Bay Packers are going to be going to Lincoln Financial Field in Philly and taking on the number 2 seed Philadelphia Eagles. And the Eagles right now, they've been having a lot of concerns when it comes to not Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts, and his health when it comes to concussion protocol. And as of right now, it seems that Jalen Hurts is going to be back for this game, and he's been kind of practicing and slowly getting back into the feel of things when it comes to football operations. Green Bay, on the other hand, dealt with some pretty bad injuries when it comes to their wide receiver core. Christian Watson in that Bears game took a nasty, not like took a nasty step and eventually ended his season with a torn ACL. With prayers up, man, because that kind of sucks still. Because you don't want to ever see that, which kind of brings to concern for this offense for the Green Bay Packers. Listen, the Green Bay Packers at the end of the day have a solid offense under Matt LaFleur. There's no question about that. It's a matter of their star power when it comes to their wide receivers and their ability to rely on that with Jordan Love at the helm. And listen, Jordan Love is a great quarterback. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I'm just saying, you know, Philly's defense is going to probably be too much for them to handle. It's not like the Cowboys last year when their defense, was pretty solid. It's just that Philly has been battle tested throughout this season, and it comes to Vic Fangio's defense and his ability to stop a lot of offenses. And yes, it has sputtered here and there, but personally, I think the Green Bay Packers are underdogs here. Do I think that's going to be a blowout? Probably not, knowing that, Jordan Love exists on that team and Matt LaFleur as well. And Josh Jacobs is going to be a very big focal point for that offense and getting the run game going. Personally, I don't think that it's good. They're going to like lay down without a fight. But I do feel like Philadelphia is going to win this one because that just seems what it's going to be like. Let's move on to the next matchup: Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Washington Commanders. And as you can see, I'm wearing the creamsicle Tampa Bay Buccaneers jersey because this is one of the teams I really want to move far in the season, in the playoffs. Baker Mayfield himself having a great season statistically, and was able to sneak into the playoffs, with some help from his other teams in the NFC. And he's going to be going up on an up and coming team in the Washington Commanders with their rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels. And this offense has surprised the Commanders I'm talking about, has surprised a lot of teams, has surprised a lot of the NFL and the fans of how good they've really become in such a short amount of time. This team originally was supposed to be a rebuild team, but ended up making the playoffs with, great coaching, great personnel, and Jane Daniels just balling out. Um, so I think this is going to be an interesting matchup. I just think that both teams are dealing with their own deficiencies. With the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're very inconsistent when it comes to their offense at times. Some days they have their offense at high power and high level that they can beat anyone. They can literally beat anyone. They literally beat the Lions this year. They were one of the 2 teams that beat the Lions this year, but they lose to Mickey Mouse teams as well. So depends on what kind of offense we're going to be seeing from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is what's going to determine if they move on to the next round or divisional round or not. With the Commanders, they're playing with house money because unlike the Commanders, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have made the playoffs last year. They have won a playoff game against the Eagles. This year, there are some slight expectations. Baker got paid, and yes, Godwin is out for the season, but they have an up and coming wide receiver in McMillan. I think he's going to be taking a prominent role and taking that next step for him and Baker Mayfield to get that chemistry together. Plus, Mike Evans is a dog nonetheless. Bucky Irving, Rashad White in the run game, never count them out. Speaking of never counting them out, never count out the Commanders to pull off an upset because they can very well put off an upset. Do I think they will? Probably not, because I think that, they have a lot of the good things going for them. I just think that the Buccaneers right now have a lot to prove. I think that the Commanders right now are playing with house money. They'll definitely come out swinging, but I just don't think that the they'll match up really well to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, because they've, believe it or not, they played early on in the season as well. So it's technically a rematch from that Buccaneers game in week 1 when the Commanders lost that game. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Commanders won that game, but I personally believe that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will eventually win this game. So next up, the Minnesota Vikings and the LA Rams. I think that Minnesota will take this one. As much as I want the Rams to win, I just think that, you know, Minnesota right now is in a desperate mode, and they're trying to win this. They're going to probably win this round because the Rams, they've been pretty inconsistent at times. They have a relatively young team. And the more I thought about it, because originally I thought that the Rams could win this one because McVay is very experienced, Stafford, experienced quarterback whatsoever, whatnot, right? I just don't think that their defense is there yet to face a high-powered offense in Kevin O'Connell and, the offense in Justin Jefferson and whatnot. It's great that the Rams, made it this far, but I think that their ride ends here. And I think that the Vikings are going to probably move on to the next round. And listen, Sam Darnold sputtered against the Lions last week. I know that's brought a lot of concern to this team, but for this round alone, I think that they can, manage to move on to the next round from that. Let's move on to the AFC. The Broncos versus the Buffalo Bills. This is going to be interesting, but I don't think that it's going to be that hard to pick. I think that the Bills will easily win this one. It's great that Bo Nix and his team are able to make it this far, and they're going to put up some points. I'm pretty sure that they will. I just think that the Bills right now have a lot to prove on their own, and with Josh Allen playing at an MVP like level this year, I think that he's going to continue that into the playoffs. And the play calling from Joe Brady as well has been very, very consistent. And, you know, hats off to Sean Payton and what he's done with this team. But I think that the Buffalo Bills will take care of business. Baltimore versus Steelers. Oh man. If you told me like early on in the season that the Steelers might have a chance, I think yeah, they probably would. But right now I think the Ravens have it easily. The Ravens just look like the way better team at the moment in the AFC North. And I think they're just gonna have a really nice time against the Steelers. The Steelers, obviously their defense is gonna be pretty solid, but I just think that their offense is very, very lackluster with Russell Wilson at the helm, especially these last couple of games where they've lost 4 straight. Personally, I think that the Ravens are just trying to, do everything they possibly can to win a Super Bowl this season. And I think that they're going to take care of business here. Now, the more closer matchup is going to be the Chargers versus the Houston Texans. Last year, Houston was able to win a playoff game against the Cleveland Browns and was able to make it to the divisional round against the Baltimore Ravens. Eventually, did not make it past that stage. And this year, they had a lot of hope, a lot of like optimism, but it ended up being a very underwhelming season for them. And listen, they're banged up offensive line wise. CJ Stroud doesn't have 2 of his weapons in Nico Collins, sorry, not Nico Collins, Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs. And their offensive line hasn't been great either. So it's going to pose a lot of problems. CJ Stroud is having a sophomore slump type season as well. But since they're in the AFC South, they were able to make it or squeeze past everyone and make it to the playoffs. The Chargers, on the other hand, last year, very unsuccessful season, threw it all away and got Jim Harbaugh to coach his team. I think that Jim Harbaugh was a blessing in disguise because this dude, loves football, was able to coach this team really well. And I think they have a really good staff around them. And Justin Herbert, say what you want about him, he's really, really good. And Jim Harbaugh has been able to get the most out of Justin Herbert. I mean, obviously not the most, but as good as he can be under this offense for Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. Plus, they have a lot of weapons when it comes to wide receiver. Like Glad McConkey has been pretty solid for them as wide receiver. And it really just comes down to their wide receiver core because if their wide receiver core drops a lot of balls, then it's wraps at that point. So I personally think that Jim Harbaugh can outcoach DeMeco Ryans and his defense. Um, while the Houston Texans defense is really good, I personally just don't think that they're ready yet to face the Chargers. I think the Chargers are more hungry and are willing to, and I think that the Houston Texans are just too battered at this point. So let's move on to the next week. Next week. Now we have the divisional round, the big boy round. Well, second to last big boy round. Um, so the Ravens facing the Bills. Personally, given that the Ravens have beaten the Bills in the regular season, I think that this is going to be a really good match. But I do think the Ravens are going to win, and here's why. I think that the defense for the Ravens is a lot better than the Bills' defense, and they're more cohesive, especially with Orr being their defensive coordinator. He's been getting everyone in shape for this moment in the offseason. I think they're getting hot at the right time for the Ravens defense. And Lamar Jackson, as I said before, has been playing at an MVP like level, throwing the ball a lot better, and having Derrick Henry next to you really does help as both a receiving threat and a rushing threat, mainly a rushing threat. And that duo is going to be really, really good going into this game. And I think that while Josh Allen will put up a fight, will be really, really good against them, I just think that it won't be enough. And I think that unfortunately the Bills are going to be out in the divisional round this year. So now the Kansas City Chiefs are in the play. And they are the number one seed, and they're going to face the Chargers. I think it's pretty straightforward to say that the Kansas City Chiefs win that, and we will get the AFC matchup rematch between the Ravens and the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. What else? The Buccaneers facing the Philadelphia Eagles, a rematch of last year's wild card round. Um, Obviously went the Bucks way, but this time it will happen to be at Lincoln Financial, I think, because I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So if it's at the Lincoln Financial like stadium, it's gonna pose a little bit of a threat to the Bucks because it's not home turf. Um, it's gonna be tough because I think that from one end, Baker Mayfield has a chance, to, you know, rub some dirt in the wound, or no, rub some salt in the wound of the Cleveland Browns by making it to the NFC Championship game, or a championship game before the Cleveland Browns do. And I just think that he's going to take advantage of that against the Eagles. But the Eagles defense is a lot tougher, and while they did lose to the Eagles, I just think that, there's a chance that Baker can win. I think that Baker will win this game against the Eagles. I think that um I just don't know. I just have a feeling. I have just a feeling. It's not even like anything statistic because statistically, the Eagles have a better shot at winning this game. I just don't think that they're going to win. Like, I just think that Baker and that offense with Liam Cohen as their offensive coordinator is going to figure it out. And I'm not biased, totally not biased right here. Just saying. Anyways, Vikings and Lions. I'm rooting for the Meteor to win. The Meteor has a really good shot at winning, but they have a very slight chance to win, so I don't know if that's a possibility. But if I were to pick someone to win, oh, I don't know. Unfortunately, I do think that the Lions are gonna win. The Lions just completely decimated the Vikings last week. And that's a pretty much of a preview of what is to happen if they do end up facing each other in the playoffs. And that's the divisional round. Let's go to the For championships, Ravens, Kansas City. Listen, in the NFL, it's really hard to three-peat, right? And this is going to be a very interesting matchup. How will Lamar overcome all that's wrong, all they have done to try to beat the Chiefs? They have, but it's only in the regular season. The thing is, the Kansas City Chiefs know how to win, and they're very consistent at winning when it comes to that. And they have a three-peat on the line here. I feel like they're going to be well rested. I feel like they're going to be very ready for the Baltimore Ravens. But I think that this is Lamar's year. I think that this could be Lamar's year to beat the Chiefs. And I know if you saw my podcast episode with my brother, I think, I was just, going with them. We're just collaborating. But in my personal opinion and what I really want and what I think could potentially happen is that Lamar in his third attempt could figure it out. It's very possible. I think it's very possible that I think this is the team that adding a Derrick Henry and hopefully Zay Flowers is back because apparently he's going to be out for the first game of this playoffs. Zay Flowers is back by then and he will be a threat offensively for the Chiefs. And listen, they were a toe away from beating them in the regular season too, or tying the game for the 2-point conversion. So it's going to be interesting. I will say, personally, I'm leaning toward the Chiefs, but I feel like there is a good shot for the Baltimore Ravens to go to the Super Bowl this year. I just think that's the case. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's sports, But I personally think this is Lamar's best chance. This is Lamar's last chance. So I think that he's going to take full advantage of it. And then I'm going to have the Buccaneers facing the Lions. I'm going to be rooting so hard for the Buccaneers if this is the case. But they did beat the Lions once already in the regular season. I feel like they're such a sleeper team. But are they a Super Bowl team? That's the question. I think the Lions are ready to be a Super Bowl team. And I think that they've just been waiting for this moment. I don't think with Todd Bowles, if you were going to match up Todd Bowles with Dan Campbell, unfortunately, I would have to take Dan Campbell because it's just where it is. I just think that the Lions are a complete team, even when their reserves are completely decimated. I just think that they're just the better team. And now we have the Super Bowl between the Ravens and the Detroit Lions. I think that with John Harbaugh having already been to a Super Bowl before Dan Campbell, he's experienced it. And, the Lions are going to be hungry. They will be hungry to win. But I think this is going to be a rude awakening for the Lions, in their first attempt at the Super Bowl. Because I think that they have a lot of time. They built this team very well where they can, have multiple runs for Super Bowl. I think the Ravens win it. I know one of my Ravens friends, you know who you are. You're going to be happy I said that. I feel like the Ravens can win it all. They're very under the radar for the most part. Lamar is going to probably win MVP. I think it's going to be a very magical season for the Baltimore Ravens. So that's going to do it for today's video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really means a lot to the channel. We have podcast episodes every Tuesdays and Thursdays. So be sure to check that out and comment down below your predictions for this playoffs and who you think is going to win the Super Bowl. Let me know down in the comments below. Guys, it's been a pleasure. As always, I'll see you guys in the next one.